Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We are here with our May wrap up finally. I have been very bad with getting to it, so sorry about that. But in the month of May, I read 10 books. Here they all are. I think I had a really good reading month. There's Milo. He wants up on this chair so bad. This month, I split all my reads up into the different genres. So I have romance, fantasy, and mystery thriller. I have one. But yeah, I decided to split it up because I think it'd be much easier. So let's get into the wrap up. I'm so excited to talk about these books. This month I read one mystery thriller, and it was The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. I was so excited about this book because The Housemaid was 5 stars for me, and I was just so excited to read it. This one I don't really want to give the synopsis on because it could spoil the first one, but the housemaid follows Millie and she becomes the housemaid for a family, and the mother or the wife acts very, very weird and suspicious, and she starts finding out some secrets about the family, and then it leads into this one. I gave this one 3 stars. I didn't love the way the story went. It was very slow moving and I wasn't gripped. Like, the plot twist was good. That's why it's 3 stars. Because I wouldn't say the last half, but I would say like the last 50 pages were interesting enough to keep me gripped. But the first part of the story was so boring, and I was like, I don't understand where this book is going. I just didn't love it, and I want to read more Frida McFadden because the first book that I read by her was very, very good, and I have heard that she has really great other books. She has a huge backlist, so I definitely want to read more, but this one I didn't love. I ended up reading 4 fantasies this month, and they were very good. I'm very happy with the fantasies that I read. I read Imagine Me by Tara Mafi, which is, I think, book 6 in the Shadow Me series. This is the last full book. Obviously, we all know I love the Shadow Me series. It's so good, it's so entertaining, and it's so easy to read. And I was very sad to say goodbye to these characters. I still have the novella, but still the last full book of the big story and how it's all gonna wrap up. I was super excited, but I was very sad. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I didn't love the first half of the story. I wasn't gripped in it, and I didn't like how it was going. If you know, you know. If you read this book, then you know what happens with Juliet and Anderson, and I just didn't like it. I thought it was very creepy, and I thought it was nasty, and I hated every second of reading that. But after you got past that point, it got so good, and I was just eating it up. Obviously, this is I eat up this series, but that really, really made me uncomfortable, and I really didn't like it. So obviously, I gave it a 4 stars. It just dropped it down. I don't think this book ever felt like a 5-star read to me. I think it was going at a 4.5, but that whole thing brought it down half a star. But overall, really enjoyed it. I'm very excited to finish off this series, and it feels good to finish off a really long series. So the next book is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. If you watch My Boyfriend Chooses My Reads for a week, this was in this video. I annotated it. So beautiful. I gave this book 5 stars. Absolutely love this so freaking much. The first book, Once Upon a Broken Heart, I gave, I think, 4.5 stars. I just didn't get that 5-star feeling with that one, but this one definitely gave me that feeling. The first book follows Evangeline, and her first love ends up getting engaged to her stepsister. So she seeks out the Prince of Hearts, Jax. Is it the Prince of Hearts? I can't ever remember. Yeah, I'm right. She seeks out the Prince of Hearts, Jax, to make a deal with him, and that kind of follows their story. I absolutely love this. The way that this book took was so good, and I think it made a perfect sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart. I absolutely love this world. I wish I could live in it. I love it so much. And the plot twist, the ending was so good. I cannot wait for the 3rd book to come out. It's like A Curse for True Love or something like that. I think it comes out in October. I'm so excited to read it, and I love this book with all of my heart. I love Jax. A lot of people have the opinions that you need to read the Caraval trilogy before you read this series. I didn't read the Caraval trilogy at all. I just went straight into Once Upon a Broken Heart, and it was not hard to understand at all. The only reason I say that is because Jax shows up in Caraval, I think, and it doesn't affect this story whatsoever, and I enjoyed it so much. The next book is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Six of Crows duology. I was very disappointed in this. I gave it 3.5 stars. Not a bad rating. I just was expecting this to be a 5-star read for me, and it was not. This follows a group of characters, misfits, and they are offered a deal to do a heist for a lot of money, and you kind of just follow them on their heist, on their adventure. And this book sounded so good, and it was good in some parts. It was just so much information to take in, and it just moved very slowly for me. On the very intense scenes, I enjoyed it. I was very gripped, and I was excited to keep reading. And then when nothing was happening, I was very bored, and I didn't want to read the book. I was very disappointed in this. I just kind of wished it gave me a more fast-paced book. I just didn't feel like this was fast-paced, and that's what I was expecting when I went into it. I think I just was going in with the wrong expectations into this. This comes after the Shadow and Bone trilogy. A lot of people don't read Shadow and Bone, but I recommend it. I read Shadow and Bone before I read this, and it made more sense to me because they do mention a lot of things from Shadow and Bone. I recommend reading it. They are in the same world. Very disappointed, but I do want to read the Crooked Kingdom book, the second book in this duology, because I did enjoy this enough to want to keep reading. The last fantasy I read was A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. 5 stars, obviously. There's nothing that happens much in this book. A lot of people say it's a Christmas episode of your favorite TV show, and it really is. But I just love this world, and I love this found family that I've become a part of. And I enjoyed every second of reading this book. It was just perfect, and I think it was a perfect separation between Feyre and Rhysand to Nesta's story, to Nesta and Cassian. So definitely don't ever skip over this if you're reading the ACOTAR series. I think that you need to read this. It gives a good little break between the books. And I just really love this. You follow the group of friends on winter solstice. They're finding their feelings again after what happened in ACO War, and they're finding themselves again and kind of sorting through their feelings. And I just had a great time reading this. I love these characters, and it was very sad to say goodbye to Feyre and Rhysand's point of view, because you still see them in A Court of Silver Flames, you just don't get their point of views. And you also get new point of views, I think, of Cassian and from Moore, I'm pretty sure. So that was amazing. I loved that. And then I ended up reading 5 romances this month. The first romance is The Chase by Elle Kennedy. I ended up giving this, I think, a 4 stars. This follows Summer and Fitz. Fitz is Summer's brother's friend, so it's brother's friend trope. And Summer gets kicked out of her, not kicked out, she gets asked to leave very nicely from, I think she goes to Brown, and she needs to find somewhere to live. She ends up going to Briar U, which is the university that they go to. And she ends up going to Briar, and she needs somewhere to live, and Dean hooks her up with living with Fitz and his other 2 roommates, Hunter and Hollis, right? I can't remember. But I really, really enjoyed this. It was kind of a slow burn a bit. Like, there was a bunch of tension, and then they finally got together. It was very paced. It was paced very well, in my opinion. There's nothing much more to this. I enjoyed my time reading it. It just wasn't anything spectacular. That's usually how Elle Kennedy's reads are. They're nothing like spectacular, but they're very enjoyable, and they're just a good comfort read. The Briar U and the Off-Campus series are very much comfort reads for me, and I'm very happy I got into this world this year. It was just very nice. The next book that I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I was so nervous to read this book because Beach Read was not my favorite book. It was my only book that I read by Emily Henry, and I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't amazing. I was very thoroughly surprised with this. This follows Harriet and Wynne. They were fiancés. They're ex-fiancés. They break up, but their group of friends goes every year to their beach house that they all share. They don't really share it. It's one of their friends' family's house. But they go to their little beach house that they go to every year, and they don't want their friends knowing that they broke up to ruin basically their last trip together. And so they pretend to still be together during the whole trip. This book was a 5 stars for me. I'm very, very surprised. I did not think it was going to be 5 stars. So I'm very happy. I absolutely loved Harriet and Wynne. I loved the friend group. Like, I know a lot of people say this is basically fiction with a little bit of romance in it, and I do agree with that. And I loved the romance. I loved the friend group. I loved the found family. The summer vibes was perfect. I read this book in like a little over a day. Like, I was flying through it. I didn't want to stop reading it. I enjoyed every second I was reading it, and some of the lines in this is so good. I want to go back through it and reread it maybe next summer and like fully annotate it, because, or maybe later this summer, I don't know, because this was so good and I loved every second, and I definitely recommend this book. It is so good. The next book that I read was Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This was also my boyfriend chooses what I read for a week. This is a sapphic romance, and it follows Delilah and Claire. Delilah's stepsister is getting married, and she gets hired as their photographer, so she has to go back to her hometown that she hasn't been to in years because she has a bad past with it. And Claire is Delilah's stepsister's best friend, and she's a part of all of the wedding festivities. She's in the wedding, so they have to see each other a lot. I wouldn't say this is enemies to lovers at all, but they end up having to be around each other a lot, and they start forming a romance, and it's just so beautiful. I ended up rating this book 5 stars. It was so amazing. I've heard amazing things about this book, and I never like thought I would love it as much as I did. Oh my god, it's so good. The tension in this book, so amazing. The heartfelt conversations that they have, so amazing. The characters I got so attached to. I was rooting for them so hard. And I just, oh my god, like, it was just so beautiful. This is literally one of the most perfect romances I've ever read. Everything was right in this book. Like, everything was right. There was nothing wrong. I definitely want to read more from this author. It was so beautiful. Such an amazing love story. I've never read a lesbian romance. I've read an MM romance, but not a lesbian one, and I can't wait to read more. It was just so beautiful. And I can't even put it into words. One of my favorite romances right now. It was so amazing. Happy Place is probably #1 right now because I'm obsessed with it, but this is close too. The next book that I read was A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. This was the other book in What My Boyfriend Chooses What I Read for a Week. I gave this book a 4 stars. I very thoroughly enjoyed it. It follows Marielle and Ozroth. Marielle is a witch, but she's not very talented or trained in her witching abilities, and she accidentally summons a demon. And in her spell, she accidentally says that she's basically going to give her soul to him for a bargain, a soul bargain. And so she doesn't want her family or anybody to know that she summoned a demon. So she has to fake date Ozroth until she can find a way to get rid of him. I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed it so much. I thought it was so fun. I wish I could have read it during October in like Halloween time. Like, it was just, oh my god. I said in the video that it reminded me of Halloween Town, but a romance book, because of like the world is so interesting. Like, witches are known in this, like, they're known in the world, they exist. There's so many different creatures in this world. Like, it's Earth, like they're in Earth, they're in a basic town, but there's like mermaids. They're not necessarily mermaids, they're called something else, but I can't remember, like witches and warlocks and stuff like that. Like, it was just so amazing. It was so fun, such an enjoyable, fun, cute read. I definitely recommend reading this, especially in October. It was just so fun. I enjoyed my time reading this, and I can't wait for the next book, Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, because it follows 2 characters from this book, and I was not expecting them to be in a book together. So I'm so excited, and I really, really enjoyed this. The last and final book that I read in May was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. This is the first book in the Cat and Mouse duet, and I rated this 5 freaking stars. It was so amazing. I feel guilty for loving this. It's like a guilty pleasure of mine is this book. I want to make sure I'm not spoiling anything, but it follows 2 characters. The female main character gets a stalker, and the stalker ends up becoming a lover of some sort. Very, very dark, very, very, very dark. I definitely recommend looking up trigger warnings for this. You get dual POV, which I loved. Zaid, he's very much a psychopath, but again, I love it. I think I was able to get into this and love this book so much because I grew up reading Wattpad, the toxic dark romances on Wattpad. So I'm very much used to reading them, just like not now like I used to be able to. But still, loved this book. It was so amazing, so good. I definitely want to read more of H.D. Carlton because she has some dark romances. But wow, oh my god. There's just like so much that happens in this book, and I'm so nervous to read the second book. But I know I'm gonna love it, and I eat this up. This is literally junk food. It's literally, you know, like the trash reality TV shows? This is that. Like, it's so outrageous, and I know it's never gonna happen, but I eat it up. I eat this shit up so much. It's so good. Those are the 10 books that I read in the month of May. I had an amazing reading month, and I'm so happy with what I read, and I can't wait to see what I read in June. I've read 2 books already in June. Already had a 5-star read, if you're wondering. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I will see you in my next video. Toodaloo.